Today's Buddhist sermon was made possible by the generous contributions of all children and grandchildren to invoke merit on late Vibhishana Devale Basnayaka Nilame, Kalaniya, Muhandiram Rajakaruna Samarakone and Mrs. Samarakone, late Mr. and Mrs. H.W. Chandrasekhara and all departed relatives.
Buddhist sermon is delivered by Venerable Dr. Deniyaye Pagnagnaloka Buddharakkita Tero.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Gabbhameke uppajjanti nirayang papakamino saggang sugatino yanti parinibbanti anasavati. Dear friends of the Noble Dhamma, today on Durutu or January full moon Poya day, you are ready to share some thoughts of the Noble Dhamma preached by the Buddha for the well-being and happiness of all gods, men and beings in universe. Today being Durutu full moon Poya day, January full moon Poya day, is very significant as the historic Buddhist procession Durutu Maha Perahera is held at the historic Kalaniya Rajamaha Vihara premises. We all know that today in Sri Lanka and in the world, we are not in a situation to gather together and to be a part of Buddhist cultural events as we used to do in previous years. Due to corona pandemic influence, in this year, only the traditional Udamaluve Perahera, the procession in the upper most sacred level of the historic Kalaniya Rajamaha Vihara is being held following strictly health instructions with the participation of devotees of the temple and artists, especially representing traditional artist traditions. We all know that historic Kalaniya Rajamaha Vihara January Buddhist procession, well known as Durutu Maha Perahera of Kalaniya, is the opening event of Buddhist cultural performances in Sri Lanka. Throughout the year, we have different cultural pageants and events in commemoration of historical and Buddhist religious occasions. Now, historic Kalaniya Durutu Maha Perahera is the first event of that caliber to be performed, to be conducted and organized in and around the January full moon Poya day. Historically, nearly 100 days prior to the Durutu full moon Poya day, including few months of the previous year, famous preachers of the country representing different regions visit the historic Kalaniya temple and deliver Dhamma Desana, Dhamma talks in every evening. After about the process of nearly 100 year Dhamma Desana is over, for one full week, spirit chanting of protective, blessing words of the Buddha is being conducted nearly 1 week, following all the traditional customs in order to invoke blessings to country, its people, to the world, and also transfer merits to gods and dead and departed ones. Here at the outset, this sacred ceremony is also performed to pay tribute to venerable heroes of the past, our kings and great other heroes who devoted their time, vigor, life for the betterment and protection of the country and the Buddha Sasana. We all know that Kelaniya is the sacred city where the Buddha visited for the third time. Before that, he visited 2 times to Sri Lanka. In his third visit, in the 8th year after the enlightenment, when the Buddha was 43 years old in age, Gautama Sakyamuni the Buddha visited sacred Kelaniya temple premises with 500 noble arahants. At that time, the regional ruler in that area was Maniakkika, king of Naga clan. He is called Maniakkika because he had very sharp eyes like gems. He invited the Buddha and arahants to visit Kelaniya, and in morning of that Vesak full moon Poya day, in the 8th year after the enlightenment, the Buddha with 500 arahants visited sacred Kelaniya city, and in the morning he spent the day in the place. It is historically recorded that the Buddha with 500 arahants use the water of Kelaniya river to clean their sacred bodies. Then when it came near the noon, King Maniakkika and the then residents of Kelaniya offered lunch dana to the Buddha and other arahants. Then the Buddha preached deep, profound and noble Dhamma to the people and gods who gathered there at that time. And although it is not recorded in traditional Pali sources, the contents of that Dhamma Desana, that particular Dhamma talk which was given there, in Sanskrit Buddhist literature and Chinese Buddhist literature, also in Tibetan Buddhist literature, we have one sutta named Lankavatara Sutra. This Lankavatara Sutra, which is a very deep, profound exposition of the function of human consciousness and consciousness of beings, is believed to have delivered in Sri Lanka. That very location is considered to be this sacred premises throughout the history of Mahayana Buddhism in Mahayana sources. Anyway, having finished the daily routine at Kelaniya, then with the invitation of God Saman, who was the custodian of sacred Samanalakanda, Sripada mountain, the Buddha visited along with 500 arahants and imprinted the sacred footprint on the top of the mountain in an blue sapphire gem, according to the historical records. Today we have the sacred Sripada mountain, where we visit for 6 months in the year to worship the Buddha. It is said that what we witness today on the top of the mountain is a slate kept over the footprint of the Buddha for the protection of the original footprint. Not only that, since then, Buddha and Arahants visited 16 places we have traditionally and respectfully used Gatha, a verse, Pali verse, beginning as Mahiyanganang, Nagdeepang, Kalyanang, Padalanchanang, etc., which record the 16 places the Buddha visited in his third visit to this sacred Kalaniya city. Actually, this historical incident took place in the month of May on the full moon day of Vesak full moon Poya day. In 1927, when Mrs. Helena Jayawardena and the family, when they renovated the sacred vihara, they wanted to start a Buddhist procession in commemoration of the Buddha's sacred visits to Sri Lanka. At that time, there was no other perahera to pay tribute and respect to the first and second visits of the Buddha. Therefore, they decided to hold the perahera in January in the Durutu full moon Poya day, respectfully commemorating the first visit of the Buddha to Sri Lanka. Now, nearly 100 years, this sacred perahera has been there at Kalaniya. Through many good and bad times, the historical Udamaluwe perahera has been there, paying due respect to the Buddha, to the Dhamma, and to the Sangha, taking sacred relics out of the sacred places deposited throughout here. Then they are kept on caskets placed on back of sacred elephants, and with all the dancing and traditional music representing Udarata, Pahatarata, Sabaragamu, and other Dravidian artistic traditions in Sri Lanka. The procession continues for 3 days. First, the most upper level, Udamaluwe perahera. Then second, Devini Maluwe perahera. The last great pageant or procession called Mahaperahera. These 3 peraheras of Kalaniya on Durutu full moon Poya day is very popular among local Buddhists and also foreign visitors to Sri Lanka. There are hundreds of foreign tourists and visitors visiting Sri Lanka in January, especially to witness Kalaniya Durutu Perahera, as they do in July in Kandy to witness sacred Dalada Perahera. Now, this year, as I mentioned earlier, we are not in a position or atmosphere to perform the full-scale Perahera procession. Therefore, only the uppermost level of the sacred vihara, the Udamaluwe Perahera, is scheduled to be held on the previous day, Durutu full moon Poya day. Now, having completed that sacred Perahera activities and having paid due respect to the noble triple gem and having transferred merits to gods and the ancestors who protect, preserved and fostered this country, Buddhism and its culture, we are today here on Durutu full moon Poya day, January full moon Poya day, to share Dhamma knowledge, to learn the Dhamma, to understand life with the profound expositions Dhamma regarding the real nature, human life. Now, the real nature or the reality of life, the true way of life, was called in Buddhist terminology Yatha Bhuta. When Yatha Bhuta is translated into English, things as they are. So the Buddha always preached things of the world, things of universe, things related to our life as they are. It is one of the expositions of Buddhism that we individuals in the normal world as average members of human society see, understand, witness things always with a personal outlook, personal coloring. Now, one and the same thing or one and the same person, one and the same event, when observed, looked at, viewed by different eyes, people understand things in different way. For example, shall we think that there is one tusker, elephant with tusks, walking in the road nearby your residence. We come out of home and we look at this giant being. We hundreds of people, when we witness this particular living thing, we perceive and think of that thing, of that living thing, in 100 different ways. There may be people who enjoy the vision of elephant. There may be other people who feel fear and at times terror at the very sight of the elephant. And there are other people who see and respect elephant as a sacred entity. We know that Nadungamuye elephant, Nadungamuye tusker, when he is moving from Belivaria to Kandy to participate in the Asala Perahara of sacred temple of Truth Relic, there are people besides the road, they pay respect. They consider it is a very lucky sight to witness the very moving of this elephant towards the sacred temple of truth, Dalada Malika. So there are people who consider it as sacred. Some people consider it a beautiful sight, some as a respectful sight, some others with fearful eyes and thoughts, like that. One and the same thing is viewed by different people in different way. The Buddha says we do that because naturally the minds of average people are distorted. Distorted with what? With defilements. Colored with defilements. If I am happy today, I will see many things as happy things. When I see a person, I will welcome him as with happy eyes, happy mood, with happy reactions. In case, if I am angry today for some other reason, for a reason which has no any connection to the visitor, the person who is the host will be welcoming the guest with angry eyes. If it is a good day, with a victorious day for you today, then your shoulders are up, eyes look and appear to be happy. So you look at the things, you consider yourself to be victorious. If it is a sad day for you, even sky, clouds, rain, any other thing, wind, everything you will feel as signs of sadness. Now, if we see very carefully, the problem is not in the things we see. The problem is in our eyes and in the consciousness behind that. That is why the Buddha very beautifully explains that Nate kama yani chitrani loke. There are beautiful things in the world. The sense they are not, they within them, we cannot see the sensuous pleasure. Sensuous pleasure is something that is inherent in human mind. So when they see some attractive thing, they cause to function the sensuous pleasure within their heart. So what I want to clarify is that we see things and we perceive things, we understand and interpret things according to the mentality of that particular time, according to the coloring of mind at that time. If the mind is happy at that time, the thing will be happy. The thing we see could look happy. If sad, it is not a happy thing, like that. So we are not seeing the things as they are. That is what is most important. We are not witnessing, we are not perceiving, we are not seeing, we are not understanding, and our comprehension is not conclusive, and it does not see the things as they are. Because mind always has its own coloring, individual coloring, personal coloring. So the Buddha is beyond that level. Buddha has surpassed this level. He has removed mental coloring. There is no any power, because he has took control of himself, his emotions. Average individuals are not so. They are governed by emotions, governed by mind. The Buddha and Arahants have overcome it. They are not controlled, governed, administered by emotions, by five senses, eye, ear, etc. Therefore, Buddha is able to see, observe, comprehend, understand, and also to proclaim things as they are. Things within us, things around us, to be explained as they are. Therefore, they are called yatha bhuta, the nature of things as they are. So this sacred Dhamma, this noble Dhamma, this rare Dhamma contains yatha bhuta of the things of the world. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta.
Buddhist sermon was delivered by Venerable Dr. Deniyaye Pagnagnaloka Buddharakkita Tero.
Today's Buddhist sermon was made possible by the generous contributions of all children and grandchildren to invoke merit on late Vibhishana Devale Basnayaka Nilame, Kalaniya. Muhandiram Rajakaruna Samarakone and Mrs. Samarakone, late Mr. and Mrs. H.W. Chandrasekhara, and all departed relatives.